Well, part of that, I think, is the consequence of the fact that we have to ground our perceptions in an axiomatic framework. And this has been my concern with the primacy of the story right from the beginning. And I think the deeper question is, is there some necessary structure to that fundamental axiomatic framework? The postmodernist claim was that the fundamental postmodernist claim is that there is no uniting meta-narrative, right? We live in the postmodern world now. The postmodern world is a place of local truths. And the French intellectuals, they not only decided that was necessary and an improvement. And now we see the consequences of that. We're in a landscape of infinite narratives. And the question is, how do you define a rank order of narratives such that some are valid and some are invalid? The idea of misinformation is obviously predicated on the notion that certain narratives are invalid. And that seems self-evident to me. I wouldn't exactly call myself a fan of the direction that Candace Owens has decided to walk down, but I'm not going to say anything more about her. And so, what I've been trying to struggle with is, and this has been the basis of many of our discussions in the final analysis, is what is the proper grounding for a narrative framework? And my understanding of your position is that that's why you've turned right from the beginning to the world of objective fact, so to speak. But the problem is that there's a lot of facts, and which ones to prioritize and which ones to ignore is a very thorny question. And, one of the things you referred to obliquely was that, well, when you and I were young, because we're about the same age, I think you're 4 years younger than me, we had narratives that united us as a culture. There was there were fewer people. There was more ethnic homogeneity, at least in the local environments in the world. There were information brokers that were extraordinarily powerful. The universities, the newspapers, the TV stations, the radio stations, and they weren't very easy to get access to, and they had gatekeepers, and at least some of the time, those gatekeepers seemed meritorious as well as arbitrary. And, it could easily be that the fragmentation of the landscape is a consequence of technological revolution, and also perhaps of you had pointed to the irresponsibility of the participants in that landscape. I think it's also, or even more primarily, that they're flooded with information and finding it very difficult to keep up.
Well, they're also just not disposed to function by the old norms that the gatekeepers, for all their faults, they had standards, right? The New York Times had a standard.
But Sam, those I agree with you, but I also would say that those institutions, the gatekeeping institutions, have also revealed themselves as catastrophically flawed in the last 5 to 10 years. I'm interested in your take on this. Like, you brought up October 7th and the rise of anti-Semitism, and I've been tracking that with a couple of friends of mine, and we've been spending a lot of time fighting it off in all sorts of ways, some of which are public and some of which aren't. And I'm appalled by it. What's happened in Canada on the anti-Semitic front since October 7th is something I never thought I'd see in my lifetime. It embarrasses me to the core. My goddamn government came out the other day, those bloody liberals, and they talked in the aftermath of October 7th about combating Islamophobia, as if that's Canada's problem, which it isn't. And so, and then, you saw what happened across the United States and Canada with regard to the universities, Columbia University in particular, and their absolute silence and complicitness while these terrible demonstrations were going on. Not that I think that the demonstrations themselves should have been, well, we can talk about that. Letting terrorist radicals take over the universities doesn't strike me as a very good solution. So I'm curious about what you think about that, because, well, so like, I think the gatekeepers have abandoned the gates. Like, I don't trust anything the New York Times prints at all. I think they're reprehensible. The universities, I think, are beyond salvaging. I can't see how they can be fixed. Anyways, man, lay it out. Tell me what you think.
I think those, all the way up until those last two statements, I can sign on the dotted line. I think all of these institutions have embarrassed themselves in recent years, and for the reasons that I think you and I would fully agree about. This became most obvious during COVID, but it's, the October 7th is more of the same. But I would just point out that the antidote to that, to the failures of institutions, is not new standards. It's really to apply the old standards. I mean, we need the institutions.
Spoken like a true conservative.
Yeah. Fine. Well, yeah. I mean, so it's
but
the antidote to failures of science, say, or scientific fraud, is not something other than science. It's just more science, real science, good science, scientific integrity. And so it is with journalism or any academic discipline or anything that purports to be truth seeking. We have standards, and there's nothing wrong with our standards. What's dangerous about the current information landscape, where we have just this contrarian universe where anything that is outside the institutions is considered to have some kind of primacy, right? Where everyone is kind of a citizen journalist, a citizen scientist, where you just kind of flip the mics on and talk for 4 hours, and that's good enough. What that's selecting for are the people who have no